So we have discussed already. We have discussed data warehouse and Synapse Analytics, and today we are going to discuss a very important topic of Azure. Means this is one service that you most of the time you need this service. Whatever may be your architecture, whether you are working on some database, you are working on warehouse, or you are working on some big data analytics project, you need this Azure Data Factory component. Okay, this is the orchestration tool. So wherever we have drawn some diagrams, architecture diagram, you have seen one part that is known as the orchestration. Means whenever there are multiple services or multiple components you are working together, means you need for your architecture, you need multiple components, and where you have to work on data, means you may have to transfer some data, you have to do some transformations on the data, and you have to send the data to different destination from different sources. Then this component, that is Azure Data Factory, you always need this. So that's why it is a very important component, and whenever you are designing any architecture of any solution like data related solution, then you need this data factory. So it is a managed cloud service, and it is built for complex hybrid ETL and ELT. Okay, so ETL is something that we mentioned it in the last session also, that the traditional way of data transfer was ETL, that is extract, transform, load. But when we are dealing with nowadays, we are dealing with big data, where first of all the data is huge. Data may be streaming data, it may be, and it can be of many different shape and size. So it is becoming very difficult that I will make changes to the data and then will load. That is actually practically not possible. So for that, the way of handling data has now changed from ETL. Now the common practice is ELT, where it's like you are extracting from the data sources, load it in your destination, and then you are making some changes or some transformations. Okay, so for this ETL or ELT or data integration projects, we need data factory. What it allows to create data driven workflows for orchestrating data movement and transforming data at scale. Means you have means huge amount of data that you can move from one place to another, and you can make some transformations. And one important thing is that you have a very good visual representation of data factory. Okay, it is like most of the thing, you of course you have to write some code, but there are many things that you can do with the drag and drop facilities. Means you can drag some component, you can just add something, you can join them, so you can design the workflow. So it's like a visual representation, and it's like most of the thing you can do with the this this drag and drop facilities. So a lot of things will be done like that. You don't have to write code for each and everything, but whenever some particular work you are doing, say you are taking data from a particular source, you are making some changes, then you are putting it in some destination. For that you have to write code. Okay, and that code is also means mostly similar to the SQL code. So as we are dealing with data, so we will write some queries most of the time on the data. So I'll show you some of them, and I will give some documents also that you can go through, and you can try to create your own Azure Data Factory. Because until unless you create on your own, then it is not possible to get that much clear understanding about it. Okay, so publish transform data to data stores. Means what it exactly does, that it first of all it connects with the data sources. Okay, it takes the data from the data sources, and then it can make some changes in the data, and then finally it can put the data in some destination data stores. Raw data organized into meaningful data stores and data lakes for better business decisions. So you know that we have discussed when we talked about big data analytics using Azure Data Explorer. Then also we mentioned that orchestration tool which is present in the entire life cycle of the data processing. So starting from taking it from the sources, making some transformation changes and putting it in the destination. So for this entire scope of work, we need Azure Data Factory. Okay. Now, how does it work? Actually, it has a lot of facilities, lot of type of work that you can do with Azure Data Factory. That's why I recommend that you go through those documents and try to create your own as much as possible, because it's a huge thing. Again, like Synapse, I told you that it's a very complex service. For Azure Data Factory also, there are many things that you have to know, okay, to work on this. So I will try to give you the idea. I will try to make you familiar with the most important concepts that you should know, so that you can go ahead and you can start creating your data factory. Okay. So how does it work? So there are many types of work it does. So we just mention broadly. One is the connect and collect. So it connect to the required data sources. It can be on premise, it can be cloud, it can be structured, unstructured and semi-structured data. So all type of data and from different types of sources it can connect. So there are many different connection options are given. Transfer data in the cloud for further analysis. So it just connect the data, collect the data and transfer it to the cloud. That is my purpose, that I want to connect to various data sources, collect the data and transfer it. Transform and enrich. Data transformation done using data flow and other activities. You have many types of activities here. I will show you with the example. I will try to create one Azure Data Factory so that you can become familiar, like how to start working on that. Okay, then there is the CI/CD and publish. Now CI/CD is something. It's a concept. There are many tools available. Also, I think you heard about GitHub. In GitHub, you get lot of code examples that you can use it for your own project. You can have your own account in GitHub. There actually it is like a code repository. Okay, Azure DevOps or GitHub, they are known as the code repository. Not only code repository, DevOps actually has lot of other functionalities. These tools are mainly used for big projects. If you get opportunity to work on a big project, maybe in an organization, what happens there, that there are many groups of people working on a same project, and some of the components, they are being used by multiple groups of people. Say you create one stored procedure in the database, and maybe that stored procedure will be used by another group of, maybe they are writing some application in, say, Visual Studio. They are using the .NET technology, writing some code, and they are calling your stored procedure. So you can understand that it is required very much well connected, it should be like. So whenever I am creating the stored procedure, that team should be aware of it, they should use the stored procedure. And when I am making some modifications to my code, so that change also should be reflected at their end, and they should be able to take the latest code I have done and they should use it. So it is like one very small example I gave you, but it's actually not that simple. It is very complex system most of the time. So what is required, that there should be a common repository where everything, every component of the entire project work should be well integrated, and it should be, means, it is like whenever there is something new, that should be reflected, right? So that is what you can understand without knowing the very details about the project, but at least everyone should understand that if multiple people are working, then it is important that you know, it is like every code should be well integrated, and it should be the latest version that should be there. So versioning is also one concept that is very important in project. So exactly what changes I'm doing, what was the exact code version yesterday, what is that today, so that if people are working on the older version, then a lot of problems happen. Actually, you can deal with it when you really work. But why I'm telling all this, because this concept is known as continuous integration, continuous deployment. Okay, so this CI/CD is something that it like how it helps. Like whenever I am making some changes, it will be, it will be deployed in the repository, and whenever there is some versioning, so all the versions get stored. So these are very powerful systems. And how Azure Data Factory is helping it there, that whenever you are creating an Azure Data Factory, then you can select these choices that I just want it to connect to Azure DevOps. Then what will happen, whenever you are writing any package, means Azure Data Factory package, and you are just publishing nothing but like you are saving it, and you are telling that yes, this is now done and it can be used, means you just want to make it public. So this type of publishing whenever you are doing, so it will be automatically flown with the correct version and the correct other details to DevOps or GitHub. So that is known as the CI/CD. So there is a full support of CI/CD. So you don't have to go to DevOps and upload your code and all that. It's not required. You can just link. So that what will happen, whenever you are creating your packages, it will automatically be part of this DevOps or GitHub. That settings you can do. Load the data into Azure Data Warehouse, SQL database, Cosmos DB, etc. So as I told that my purpose is that to collect data from various types of sources and put it in a proper method or in a proper shape to different Azure services. So wherever you are taking the data, you can load into warehouse, database, Cosmos DB, etc. Then there is the monitoring part, that is also very important, because whenever you are writing any Azure Data Factory, you are writing some code, to maybe to flow the data from one source to destination. So you can monitor it from Data Factory, that how the work is going on, where it is failed, if there is any failure, what is the reason. Okay, and you can schedule also. Say you want that every day from some file source, say some file is being stored, some text file is being stored in some drive, and you want that that file data should be moved to your database every day at 6 a.m. So it's not possible that every day 6 a.m. you will go and transfer the data. What you can do, you can schedule some activities here, so that what will happen, that every day 6 a.m. the data will be fetched from that particular location, data will be processed, and finally the data will be stored in your SQL database. So these many things, actually it can do lot, but these are the main activities that are being done by Azure Data Factory. Now, what are the key components? So before starting working on Azure Data Factory, you should have the familiarity with the key components. Okay, so the first thing that is known as the pipeline. So as I told you that it has a very good visual representation which helps you to work on it very easily. So whenever you are working on it, then the first thing that is known as the pipeline, which is the first basic concept. So it is the logical grouping of activities that perform a unit of work. Say I want to uh, retrieve some data from some text file kept in the drive. I want to remove some unnecessary columns from the file. Maybe some columns are there, some ID column, some date column, it's unnecessary columns for me. I just want to remove them, and then I want to put it in a SQL database. So that is the entire work. So for this entire work, I will create one pipeline. and inside the pipeline I will have activities. So what are the activities here? Maybe to retrieve data from the source, then making some changes on the data, and then storing the data in the Azure SQL database. So these are the activities. So pipeline is the entire unit of work. Okay, like the work is here that I want to transfer data. For that I am creating one pipeline. Just try to be familiar with the terms. So pipeline is the entire work, and inside the work I will have multiple tasks or activities. Now these activities may work sequentially or in parallel. So say the work is consisting of some 4 activities. So these 4 activities may come one by one, or maybe say 2 activities run in parallel, then the next third one and fourth one sequentially. That is also possible. Okay, may be deployed and scheduled. So I may create a pipeline, I may deploy the pipeline, and I can schedule the pipeline. Schedule means that, say, as I told you, that maybe I just want to execute the pipeline every day at 6 a.m. So that is how I can schedule it, and it will be executed every day at 6 a.m. and you will get the status and all the details about the pipeline. Next comes activity. So as I told that pipeline consists of multiple activities. So activity is something which is a specific work that I am doing as part of the entire pipeline. So activity represent a processing step in a pipeline. Okay, and there are many types of activities. Okay, 3 groupings of activities: data movement activities, data transformation activities, and control activities. So broadly I can divide it in 3 parts. Can take 0 or more input data set and produce 1 or more output data set. So ultimately the purpose of activity is that it will take some input data set, make some processing on it, and generate some output data set, and that you can send it to someone else, some other activity. Now broadly about the activity types. So first one is the data movement activities: copy data from a source data store to a destination data store. Okay, so I can copy data from a source to destination. That is the purpose of data movement activity. So you can understand I am just moving data from one data store to another data store. Then comes the data transformation activity. So transformation means that you want to make some changes to the data. So what is there? That used to transform and process your raw data into predictions and insights at scale. So maybe you are making some changes on the data. There are many different data transformation activities. Transformation activities added to pipelines either individually or chained with another activity. So it's like you can just make some continuous multiple activities where you can add the data transformation activities, or you can just add it individually also. Then comes the control activities. Control activities is actually not related to data. It is the other type of work you want to do. So I have given 2 examples. One is the execute pipeline. Means say you have created one pipeline, then you can create one activity, and within that you can execute the pipeline. It's like, say you have created one stored procedure, then you are writing another stored procedure and calling the stored procedure from there. So it's like this type of work. So there are many type of control activities. So one is the execute pipeline, which allows a data factory pipeline to invoke another pipeline. So it's like a recursive operation if you want. And then for each, it defines a repeating control flow in a pipeline. So there are lot of control activities. Say you have one activity and you want to do it for all the documents. Okay, maybe I am retrieving data from a particular folder, but that particular folder has say 10 documents. So you have to retrieve all the documents. So what you can do, you can write some for each activity. So what will happen? For each of the document in the file, you can do the processing. So this type of activities are known as control activities. So one is the data movement, where simply you are copying data from one store to another store. Data transformation means where you are making some changes to the data. And third one is the control activity, which is not related to data, but it's like other activities, other type of activities. So two examples are, one is the like you can execute one pipeline from another pipeline, or it's like for some looping concept like for each loop, so that you can do with control activities. Next comes data set. So we discussed about the pipeline and then activity, right? And then next we come to data set. So what is data set? Is the data structure within the data store. So it's like say I am accessing a SQL database. So I am taking the student table. So I can create a data set from the student table. Reference the data to be used in activities are input or output. So data set is nothing but a collection of data that you are making connection with the data store. Okay, so it's like the exact set of data, maybe the exact records that I am dealing with, that is a data set. Now another thing is link service. So what is a link service? So whenever you are trying to fetch a data set from the data store, it is important that you first create a link service. So link service is created to link data store to the data factory. Better I come here in the diagram, that may help you. Just try to follow that. So this is the pipeline. Okay, you start with the rightmost component, that is the pipeline. What you can do, you can schedule, you can monitor, you can manage the pipeline. And pipeline is a logical grouping of activities. Okay, so in the pipeline you have multiple activities. Now activities can be many different type of activities. Few examples are given here, like hive, stored procedure, copy, all different type of activities are there. And if in the activity, if you have to deal with data, then you have to connect with the link service. So if say you want to connect the student table data, okay, you are just trying to retrieve all the records from the student table. So for that you have to connect on the link service that is created on the SQL server. So through the link service you can fetch the data. So it is like data set, you are fetching the data from the activities. Maybe you can see here that to activity and data set we have two links. One is the activity produces data set or the activity consumes data set, right? So sometimes it is the input data, so you are just consuming the data, and sometimes you are uh, just like destination, in the destination you are putting the data, so it is like producing that data. So it can be consumed, it can be produced, that is the data set, but that is being done with the help of link service. So you can, the activity actually may link to the data set through the link service. So that is the connection among these four components of the data factory. Okay. Now, what is link service? It is created to link data store to the data factory. Define the connection information needed for data factory to connect to external resources. So you may connect some database, you may connect some file location. So for that you have to create a link service. Used to represent a data store, example SQL Server database, blob storage account. Used to represent a compute source that can host the execution of an activity. Actually, as I told you that it is like many types of activities are there. So sometimes it is like you want to run something on HD Insight, Hive activity is there. You don't know about this, but for now you can just consider that it is some activity, or it is some program which is being executed on some other place, and you from the Azure Data Factory activity you want to control that execution. Maybe some program is getting executed at some place, so it can be some compute resource also can be linked. That means the link service is used to not only link some data store, but it can link some compute resource. Compute resource means where some processing is going on. That way also link service helps you to connect to some external compute resource. Okay. Then there are two more components that we are going to discuss. One is known as the integration runtime. It is another important component that you need always. Okay, there are three types of integration runtime. They are known as Azure self-hosted and Azure SSIS. Okay, Azure is integration runtime which is actually always present, means whenever you create the package you will get that integration runtime. So what is that? It is the compute infrastructure to provide different data integration capabilities, because you have to connect the activity with the link service, and the link service may be connected with various type of external sources, like it can be within the Azure, it can be something in the on-premise data store, so many different type of link service. Now how this activity is going to connect with the link service, there this integration runtime helps. And these three types of integration runtime are for three different purposes. We'll discuss on that. So it can be data flow, data movement, activity dispatch, SSIS package execution. That is another type of work that can be done from Azure Data Factory. Now to understand what is SSIS package execution, I will give you a little background. So whenever we are talking about any RDBMS, say SQL Server has broadly two types of components. One is known as the database engine. Database engine is something where I can create some database, I can create some tables, I may run some stored procedure, trigger, and so on. That is my database engine. But there are some other components, they are known as business intelligence components or BI. So what is BI? It is like you can do some data transfer, you can make some report, you can make some analytical data modeling. So some different work on the data related to data, but they are some different type of work and they are collectively known as business intelligence. So before Azure Data Factory we used to use SSIS or SQL Server Integration Service for mainly doing the ETL operation, means extract, transform, load. So whatever I am discussing on Azure Data Factory, that I am connecting to some data store, I am making some changes on the data, then I am moving the data finally to some other data store. So this is not a new concept. It was actually there from very long time in Microsoft. Okay, initially we used data transformation service, that was known as DTS. So it was a very primitive service. I had worked on it for many years, and then came SSIS, that is known as the SQL Server Integration Service. It was a, you can say, it was a superset on DTS, where it is not same as DTS, but again the similar type of concept where I'm connecting to some data stores, making some changes on the data, and then saving it in destination. Now with Azure we have this Azure Data Factory, which is, again you can say, it has lot more facilities as compared to SSIS. But say you have some SSIS package, okay, you wrote it for many years and now you want that, okay, I just want to execute it through my data factory, I don't want to rewrite all those existing logic. So for that also there is a provision that from Azure Data Factory you may run SSIS packages, and to connect with that SSIS package execution from your data factory activity, you need that Azure SSIS integration runtime. Okay, I can understand that it is a lot of new topic, so it is like not to it's not possible that you will understand, visualize everything here, but it is important that you should be familiar with the term, so that when you really start working on Azure Data Factory you have to keep in mind that I have to deal with all these components. That is important. Okay, then another key component is known as data flow. Now data flow is something where again you are mostly doing the data transformation. Okay, means you are working on some data, but how data flow is different from the general data transformation activities, that here some extra facilities are given. So one is known as mapping data flow. It is visually designed data transformation in Azure Data Factory to develop data transformation logic without writing code. And there is another thing is data wrangling code, that is code free data preparation at cloud scale iteratively using Power Query. Now it is another technology, Power Platform. Microsoft has some Power Platform where you have Power Query, Power Automate, Power App, Power BI. It's another new domain that's again you have to learn. But data wrangling is something where I am doing some transformation on my data using Power Query. So this is one option is given for people who are familiar with Power Query. They can use this data wrangling. But this mapping data flow, it is very useful. When you want to make a lot of changes on the data, a lot of transformations you are looking for, but you don't want to write lot of code. So in that place, mapping data flow will help you. There is a very detailed article on the step-by-step process for doing mapping data flow. So you can refer that, and you may try to create your own mapping data flow just following that document. Okay. So now these types of integration runtime. So integration runtime is something without which you cannot proceed. Uh, First one is Azure. So it run data flows in Azure, run copy activity between cloud data store. So when you want to work within Azure, means your source and destination both are in Azure, then you should use this Azure integration runtime, and it is a runtime which is created for you. Okay, by default it will be created, but for the rest too, if you need, you have to create it explicitly. Okay, dispatch the transform activities in public network, uh, like Databricks activity, HD Insight activity, stored procedure activities, and so on. Next is the self-hosted. So it is running copy activity between a cloud data store and a data store in private network. Means when you are dealing with data stores in which, say, one is in Azure but the another is maybe some private network or the on-premise network. So for that you need self-hosted runtime. Dispatching the following transform activities against compute resources in on-premise or Azure virtual network. So it's not purely on this public network, but it can be other networks. When you are connecting, then you have to use self-hosted integration runtime. So it can be again this Databricks activity, HD Insight activity, stored procedure activity, and so on. And Azure SSIS, as I told you, that to lift and shift existing SSIS workload, Azure SSIS integration runtime created to natively execute SSIS packages. Means you have some SSIS packages already created and you want to just integrate with your data factory, but you don't want to write everything from scratch. What are you want that my package, whatever package code I have written, that should be executed but within my data factory. Then you have to use this Azure SSIS runtime. Okay. Now this is something, this document again I have taken from Microsoft website only. So you can see that actually how it is working, that this is the data factory created in East US location, and you can see here that this integration runtime and this one is in UK South, this another integration runtime is in North Europe. So they are accessing data in two different locations, and this data factory, you can use this data factory to work on that data. So that data and the integration runtime, they may be in the different locations, and the data factory may be in a different location, but you can work on that. So this is the location setting, means you can have in different locations, still you can work like that. So this is one working model of the data factory. Okay. Now when you have created your pipeline, so you now you are familiar with few terms. That first is the pipeline. Inside the pipeline, I have different activities, and when I'm working on activities, I may connect with some data set. But to work on the data set, I need the link service, and to connect the activity with the link service, I need the integration runtimes, right? So these things are being done by the pipeline. Now I have to execute the pipeline. That is important because once I have created the pipeline, I have to execute it. Okay, execute means whatever logic I have written, those those code will be executed and the changes will take place. So what is a pipeline? A run, it is an instance of a pipeline execution. Now you can execute the pipeline in two ways. One is like manually, means there is a run button. You can create your pipeline, you can go to the run button, execute it so that the changes are taking place. Another is using a trigger. As I told that we can schedule the pipeline. That instead of running every time manually, when I need it to be executed, maybe say daily I want to execute it, or maybe based on some event that whenever that procedure is executed, the pipeline should be executed like that. So for all that things, I can create some triggers. Okay, so manual execution means also known as on demand execution. So whenever you require, you are just executing it. That is the manual execution. And another way is the trigger execution, where unit of processing determines when a pipeline execution needs to be kicked off. Now there are three types of triggers. One is known as the schedule trigger, means a trigger that invokes a pipeline on a wall clock schedule. Say at 6 a.m. every day at 6 a.m. I want to execute the pipeline. Then it is a schedule trigger I can create. Then there is the tumbling window trigger, a trigger that operates on a periodic interval. That means that say you want that your pipeline should be executed every 4 hours. Every 4 hours, your pipeline should be executed. Then it is known as the tumbling window trigger. And event based trigger means a trigger that responds to an event, that if that happened, then my pipeline should be executed. So this type of different triggers can be used on the pipeline. So this is the basic about Azure Data Factory. I will show you from the portal how to create Azure Data Factory. But creating a pipeline and then creating the activities, that is a complex process that needs some time. So for that, again, I will give you the article links that you can refer and you can create. Okay, so let me go to my portal. So this is the Azure portal. Okay, I think it's visible. If it is not, you can tell me. So I have a storage account. Storage account is, you already know. So this storage account helps us to keep some data in it, any many different types of files. Go on that later. It's not working. Okay, let me first try to create a data factory. So you can see here data factory is coming. I'm selecting data factory. Okay, so it is coming data factory. You can see I just press the create button. So this is the screen for the details of the data factory. You have to fill in there. Again, that subscription. First, I have to fill in the subscription. So this is my subscription. It is showing. Then I have to select a resource group. Then I have to select the region. I am just going with the default one. If you wish, you can change it. Then I have to give a name for my data factory. So I'm giving ADF 14 SD. Okay. If there is a problem with the name, it will show you. Otherwise, it should be fine. Then there is a version. You can see data factory version. Actually, okay, it is showing me that the name can contain only letters, numbers, and hyphens. Okay, so I have given underscore, so it's not taking. I'm trying with this. Let me check. So now you can see that one tick mark is coming at the right part of the name. So that means that this name is fine. I can go ahead. Now there is the version. So earlier it was V1, Azure Data Factory V1, and then they made some changes. So now it is V2. You should of course take the V2 because this is the latest version. But maybe for some people there may be some existing packages in V1, so they want to create a V1 version. For backward compatibility they have kept, but maybe after few days it will be gone. Until unless it is specifically required, we should always go with the latest version of any of the resources. Okay, then I'm going to the next tab. As I told you that you can connect with the GitHub or Azure DevOps for your CI/CD purpose. Okay, so here if it is DevOps or if it is GitHub, you have to select and then you have to provide the details of that repositories. Now I don't want to configure it now. I am just making this checkbox on. So configure Git later. So I can just keep it off for now, and when my Azure Data Factory is created, then also I can connect with this GitHub or Azure DevOps. Then there is this network connectivity, how it will be connected. As I told you that it is always secured, and you should give access to your resources only to the people who you want to access it. So there are a lot of configurations are there in the at the time of creating the data factory. You can just keep it default for now, or you may change if you have some adequate information. Otherwise, generally we'll go with the default options. Okay, now review plus create. I'm here. It is doing the validation. So validation passed. Now I press the create button and it is creating the data factory for me. So the deployment is still in progress. Now it is showing me that the deployment is done. Okay, and here there is a button to go to resource. Let us try. So this is the overview page of your data factory. Okay, so these are the details it is showing. uh, it gives you some idea like how it is working, because maybe you have to manage the resources, cost, everything you have to manage. So here from you can see that it is giving you your usage details. Means you can monitor from here the pipeline runs, activity runs, trigger runs, integration runtime, CPU integration runtime, memory, and so on. Okay, so I have not created anything yet. Here you have two options to start. One is the Open Azure Data Factory Studio, another is the documentation part. So you can always refer the documentation to have more details. Every service we are discussing, Microsoft has a very detailed documentation. You can just search in Google that say Azure Data Factory documentation, and then you can go to the Microsoft website for the very detailed discussion on each and every topic. Okay, so here I am opening this Azure Data Factory Studio. So it will give you one new graphical interface. You can see that one new window is opening where you can work on your data factory with the graphical interface. So let us check. So it's coming. I'll try it again. It is actually having lot of components. It is you to open. So here it is, the data factory studio is open for you. Okay, here at the top you can see that you can configure a git repository, as I told that either it is through GitHub or through Azure DevOps, means for doing your continuous continuous integration and continuous deployment, CI/CD. So you can set up here at any time, because we did not do it at the time of creation. You can do it at any time, but now let us concentrate here. You can see many things, a lot of documentations, tutorials, videos, many things are there. You can go through them also. Mm, there are some features mentioned here, and at the left you can see that you have this home, author, monitor, manage. So these many activities you can do from here. And at the home page also you have something you can see: ingest, orchestrate, transform data, and configure SSI. So these are some of the work activities that you can do. I am going to author link first. So here you can see that what you can do from here. You can create some pipeline. Okay, if you just put on the right hand side, you can see you can create a new pipeline from here. Then you can create data set, you can create data flow, you can create Power Query. As I told you that in data wrangling you can use Power Query to make some transformation to your data. Next, I am coming to this monitor tab. So here you can see that you have these options to monitor that various work that is being going on. That is, say, pipeline runs, maybe some pipelines are running, so you can monitor it from here. If there is some triggers are there, so you can go here and see how the triggers are running. You have this integration runtime, so how many integration runtimes are there, whether they are running or not. So you can see here that one integration runtime is already created. Okay, this is the auto resolve integration runtime. The type is Azure. Fine, and it is running. So this is something when you want to work on Azure platform only, means your source, destination, everything is in Azure, then you can use this runtime. But if you need to have different type of work, so you can go and create the self-hosted and Azure SSIS runtimes. So you can see here that self-hosted and Azure SSIS, I don't have any runtime. In Azure only this runtime is present. Okay. So this link is for monitoring only. You cannot create anything from here. Then this data flow debug. So data flow is something I told you that we can have the mapping data flow, we can have the data wrangling, where I can design some graphical data flows and you can debug it from here if you have some already created data flows. Okay, there are some metrics and alerts also, you can create it from here for monitoring purpose. So that is the monitor tab. Now for this manage tab, you can see here that whenever you know that if you want to work on any pipeline or activity, there are some prerequisites, right? That first of all I have to create some appropriate integration runtime. So here you can see that I have this auto resolve, means Azure integration runtime, that is already created. But if I want, I can create new integration runtimes from here, like say I can create some self-hosted or some SSIS runtime from here. I have to set up this. Okay, and then I have this link service. So if I want, I can create some link service. So first of all, I have to create the integration runtime, then I have to create the link service. So for link service, you can see that so many options are available. Okay, this is all, that means all types of link service that are possible, it is present there. And then it is categorized also in the next tab. So if it is something from Azure you want to connect, so you can see that so many various options are given. So blob storage, data explorer, data lake, you are familiar with these resources, so I'm mentioning. So it can be Cosmos DB, it can be Data Explorer, it can be, you know, Azure database for different databases, Azure Databricks, file storage. So these many Azure link services you can create. Okay, then you have database specific, means not only Azure but other databases also you can connect from here. You can see so many databases. Okay, it is a database from Amazon, means AWS, that also you can connect from here. Say you want to transform some data from Amazon to Azure, so you can do it through here. This is Google AdWords. So many types of databases are available here. And then file system, different file system you can take from here. Then generic protocol, NoSQL, so you can see these many NoSQL databases you can connect, services and apps, these many types of link service you can create. Okay, so many types of services where you can create some link service. It's not only for data but for compute purpose also I can create some link service. Okay, so this is about this link service and integration runtime. Azure Purview is something which is for some visual representation purpose. So it is only in preview mode. It is something which is very new. So if you have some details here, we can connect if required. Now this is source control, so you can do some repository connectivity from here, and then you can check it here, you can manage from here. Then you have the triggers. So as I told you that there can be many triggers you can create on your pipeline. So there are broadly three different types of triggers. You can create your triggers from here. Okay, global parameters is something where it's like a global variable. So it is like in a data factory you can create multiple pipelines and you can use the global parameters if required. So this is about all these four uh, uh, links that you get here at the left part of the data factory. Now let me go back to home again. So this is the home page, and from home page also you can start working on any specific work that you know. So let me check on ingest. Okay, so this is something, this copy data tool that you can use your as your fast activity. Okay, why I'm telling this, because here also some pipeline will be created, but you don't need to create any pipeline or you don't have to write any code. You can see here this step by step process. So here only there are some options will be given to you. You have to select the options appropriately and you have to press the next button. So first of all it will get all the details about the source data that you want to move. Then it will take the target details from you. then the required settings, review and finish, and then you can execute it. So here also internally some pipeline will be created, but you don't have to write any code or any pipeline explicitly you have to create, or any activity, nothing you have to do. It's like only some kind of form fill up you do for any system. So it's like purely a graphical representation. It will ask you for some details, you can just mention and your work will be done. So this is the first type of activity you can do in the Azure Data Factory. That creating Azure Data Factory is very easy. You can create a data factory, then maybe you can keep some file in your Azure storage, you know how to do that, and then you create a Azure SQL database, and then try to create this, use this copy data tool to transfer your data from, say, from the storage to the Azure SQL database. It will be very easy, means you just put the information it is asking, every connection, integration runtime, link service, data set, everything will be created internally. You don't really have to do anything. Only thing is you just put the appropriate details and it will help you to create and run your package. Okay, so that is about this copy data tool. Okay, then if I go here, so whenever you are going here, it is actually putting you in the author tab where you can create your pipeline. So you can see that one new pipeline is created for you and you can start working. And this is the list of activities that are present. So as I told that there are many types of activities, so you can just select anything from here. You can just expand this. You can see in move and transform, you have copy data and data flow activities. Then Azure Data Explorer, Azure Function, Batch Service, Databricks. Okay, you don't need to know everything. It's not possible also, but it all depends on our requirement, and based on that, we have to select that which activity we need. And Microsoft documentation has details about each and every activity, what they are, what is the purpose of them, etc. Okay, so you can always go there and refer. So here you can see this filter, for each, if condition, switch, until, as we are talking about. So they are actually the control activities where I'm just controlling how this process is going to happen. Then you have these machine learning activities, you have power query activities. Okay, these many activities I can do, but how to start working on that? Maybe, say, I first select one copy activity. So what I have to do, you can see here one canvas, this one, and you can just drag this activity and paste it here. So you can see this copy data activity. So copy data activity is nothing but, I'm just pressing on this properties window, so it is invisible now, and if I want, I can bring it back. Okay, this is the name of the pipeline, you can change it. Okay, and I am just putting it off. This part also I can minimize. Okay, and these are the list of activities, so you can minimize or you can keep. So you can see how to work on this. You can see here one activity I have taken. Okay, that is known as the copy data activity. Whenever you have put that activity, the details you have to fill in this bottom screen. Okay, here you can see multiple tabs. So this is the general information, then you have to put the source information, what is the source data set. So if you have already one data set, you can select from the drop down, or you have to go to that new button and it will take you to the new data set that you want to create. Okay, so it will actually help you always that how to move on. So you know that if it is a copy data, then I have to put three information. One is the source details, one is the destination details. Destination is, here it is termed as sink. So you have to put the source data, you have to put the destination details, and you have to put the mapping information. So mapping information means, see, say in one database you have a table named student. having the column student id, student name, student address, etc. And you want to put the details in another table called new student, where the column names are say sid, s name, s address. So you have to give some mapping, right? If the column names are same, the mapping actually will be done automatically. Otherwise you have to specifically mention that student id should be mapped to sid of the new table, so on. So these details you can put and you can execute this copy data activity in this pipeline. So you can see here at the top I have few options, like I can validate, I can debug, I can add trigger. Okay, you know that this is a pipeline. The entire pipeline now has one activity. So I can save the pipeline. You can see here this publish all button. So actually to saving the pipeline, you have to press the publish all. So I just want to give you this suggestion here, that if you are working on Azure Data Factory, though Microsoft is continuously improving, but the problem is that say I designed one complex pipeline, okay, with multiple activities. I did not publish any change, so it is not saved. Now if you try to publish, it will be saved if everything is fine, but if there are a lot of problems, then it will show you a list of errors. And if you have done many activities and lot of problems are there, the errors are not that user friendly, so it is very difficult, to solve the problem. So what is the ideal way of working, that whenever you are writing any activity, try to publish that many changes. Okay, this part is working fine, then I will add a new component and will test. So instead of writing everything and at the end trying to do publish, what you should do, you should create some small part of it, run it, test it, and then you go further. Now as I told you that the pipeline may have multiple activities, so I can have one or many activities. So say I just take another activity from here, okay, usequel. So two activities. Now if that is the situation, you can see that these two activities are not related at all. So if you really start executing this package, then what will happen, these two activities will start on parallel, means they will start running parallel, because they don't have any relationship, but I can create some relationship. You can see here one green button at the right. So if I just drag it to the next component, then you know how it happens. Now this EUSQL is connected with copy data, and how it is connected, that after copy data this EUSQL will be executed, because I have put the arrow from copy data to EUSQL. Okay, and this is a green arrow, right? So if you just select on it and if you just press the right mouse button, you can see here some options are given. So by default it is success. That means how usequel is connected with this copy data activity, that when copy data activity is successful, then the usequel activity will work on. Okay, but you have some other options also, like if copy data is failed, then if you want to execute the usequel, then you can change this to this failure, completion, skip. So these are the options. Okay, so if I just click on failure, now you can see that it is a red one is coming. Now let me execute, take another activity. Okay, execute pipeline, and you can see here that as I have selected red, it is now showing me one green also. So I can connect this green part with this execute pipeline. So now how this pipeline is going to be executed, it is something like that you can see how it is working, that this copy data will first be executed. When copy data is successful, then this execute pipeline will be executed. When copy data is failed, then usequel will be executed. So these two activities will never execute together, either execute pipeline or usequel. So that way you can have multiple activities within your pipeline, and then you can design the conditional dependency among the different activities within the pipeline. that which are the activities should be executed in parallel, which of the activities should be executed in serial order and conditionally. So of course you understand that when copy data is successful, then usequel will never be executed. When copy data is failed, then execute pipeline will not be executed. And from this also you can see this green button. So I can just have next set of activities also. Say I take this execute SSIS package and I connect this. So what will happen? When copy data is failed and usequel is successful, then this execute SSIS package activity will be executed. So it is like every activity you can just drag and drop from here. You can connect them as per your requirement, and then you have to configure them. So whatever activity you select, you can see the details are coming at the bottom part of it, and you have to fill in all the details, and in some places you have to write some queries also. You have to write some code. Okay, so creating different types of Azure Data Factory pipelines, I have some documents that I will share with you, where the step by step process you can follow, and you can try to create your Azure Data Factory. But the first thing what you should do, that you should try to use that copy data tool. So I will go back there again. So you can see here this ingest one. So first try to do, if you really want to learn, first you create one Azure storage account, just keep one CSV file there. Then you create one Azure SQL database, and then you try to create using this copy data tool, try to transfer the data from your Azure storage file to the Azure SQL database. So that will give you some confidence that how to really work on that. It has many aspects. You can understand that, but I tried to give you some overview about it so that you can start working on Azure Data Factory, and the major components now you are familiar with. Okay, so I'm stopping here the presentation.